pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Clerk.
Counselor Committo.
Present.
Counselor Janick.
Present.
Counselor deMedeiros.
Present.
Counselor Edwards.
Present.
Counselor Paull.
Present.
Counselors Burk and Perry are absent.
Thank you. All right, so we only have 3 items on our general business this evening, all related to the budget. First item is review, discussion, and possible vote on the proposed FY26 expenditure budget for all municipal departments and the Tiverton School Department. We did hash this out last evening. I understand that we still want to go through this with a fine-tooth comb. I think that doing it live might not be the most advantageous, but we will get another shot at this post the budget hearing, correct?
After the public hearing, yes.
Could
Okay.
we just talk like one item that we talked about?
By all means, Counselor deMedeiros.
The Little Compton School Bank, food bank, do you want to change that? Want to make it 1,000?
We put it at what, 2,000?
It's at 5,000 still.
No, it's at 2,000.
Oh, we changed it?
Yes.
Oh, all right, then I'm better. And then, the summer help, I think that we should eliminate that item, and we should pay it with the 2 open positions that we've been putting in the budget for 2 years now.
We're referring to the DPW one, right?
DPW summer help. We'll only have to pay until September. And, but, and it's not like they're knocking on our door to get hired here. We've been looking for people forever. So I think we could get rid of that item, and then really realistically, see what happens next summer. If we have a full complement, we might not even need summer help.
Okay, so I'm just gonna look and see where
It's like
DPW is. Public Works.
Under DPW,
This is one that,
but you're thinking because,
Well, because
Rick
we have
has-
those 2 positions that we budget
Right,
every
but-
year.
but Rick has some seasonal people, at least one lined up, so
So they will get paid till July with this
it's
year's
his
budget.
budget, right?
And then from July till September,
We'll use
take
the
it from the
other.
DPW line item,
I'm fine with
the
that.
salary line. I also talked to Patrick to see if there was any kind of computer stuff in here that we could call capital, but he's gonna look at it. We spent looking at this morning, we spent a lot of money on capital, on computers. Not computers, but internet and.
IT services.
IT.
So with the IT services, right, I mean, we pay Tony and
Everlasting Design.
Everlasting, right? So it's almost, each department, police, fire, town hall, they're all paying them separately, correct?
Correct.
Different, now, do they work out contracts with us, or, I mean, I don't even know how we came to that number, like, how we come to that number, like, you know, I can only speak like from the fire department, how do we get that number to, or we just budget IT and hopefully we don't spend it all with them?
And it's a moving target, sir. Sometimes we don't have, sometimes we transfer money in, sometimes we transfer money out.
Are we better off entering, like, in a contract with them, saying, hey, for the 3 departments, and get a solid number for the year? I know it could go up if we get hit with
It's, a lot of it is as needed, obviously, and with some of the renovations that we're doing in Town Hall with the computers,
which is well needed.
then that's it. We could get into a discussion with them about a contract, but then we'd have to put it out to RFP. It wouldn't just be them. I can also say, and I know the school department, Mr. Andrade made mention of this during his budget presentation, that is one of the issues that we're looking at town-wide, because as you know, the school department hires full-time employees for their IT services. So what I would like to see, and maybe at some point make a presentation to all of you, is that we pool the services town-wide to include school and municipal.
Makes sense.
Having in-house people there is very convenient. Having when I was on the school board, having IT right there every day was very convenient. They
Yes, ma'am.
could take care of whatever problem, troubleshoot it right away.
So what we'd want to do is whether we But also, as you know, having IT people present is expensive.
Yeah.
You know, it's oversight for personnel, it's retirement, it's healthcare. If we were to do,
FICA.
if we were to do something contractually, what I'd like to see is that a certain amount of time is given to the schools, obviously, but if there's an issue at town hall, you know, it'd have a town hall day, a police department day, and on-call as needed emergency time as well.
Any other counselors have any thoughts on the budget?
So you want to do that with DPW?
Well, just to make mention, I think the longevity numbers were correct for the fire department.
correct,
It's actually half of the department gets longevity, so those numbers were correct. And then, I mean, if we're looking for a lot of money, I still think personal gear could be cut a little bit. The personal protective gear at 40,000, we just,
From the fire,
the fire department, and then I just had, for the administrator, I know you could probably answer this, with the PD uniform equipment replacement, like, what is that? Is that if they get a rip or a tear, or?
Correct? And also upfit for new hires.
Yes,
Oh, new hires are in there, all right, never
Yes, sir.
mind.
that was part of the contract, that's the whole,
So the uniform allowance was taken out, and this was obviously under the treasurer's recommendation and probably requirement, that initially, it was all pooled. So there would be uniform allowance and then uniform replacement in one. So the uniform allowance is a contractual item for the individual police officers that they get. And then everything else, when purchasing a uniform replacement, upfit, new hires, that was a separate account.
Okay.
Any other questions from the council?
so do we want to do that tonight, or you want to just,
I've already adjusted the 20,000 in this spreadsheet to
okay,
get to a total number.
we'll have to change the,
Does not change the tax rate. Does change the numbers, yeah.
What line would change? Public Works? Down 20, so it would be 3221696?
it's not,
Yeah, let's wait for that, yeah.
All right, any
If-
more changes to the municipal budget?
If, after the public hearing, there's some really strong indication, we can make changes
Correct.
at that time.
That just triggers another advertising,
Right.
another requirement for advertising with the state when you do that. But yes, you can, we have in the past.
and do we want to take any more out of the general fund? That's the next other question. To
Question.
decrease the tax rate.
Question for the solicitor before we get to that piece. So since it triggers another round of advertising, are we gonna run into a timeline issue if we do make alterations?
We will, if there's
Yeah.
alterations made, I think we planned it out today, the earliest you could pass the budget would be June 30th, correct?
Okay.
Even if you make changes, correct? I believe so, yeah. So we have our own 14-day advertising requirement for this, whatever you pass tonight. Then the state requires us, when you pass, because this is only preliminary still, right?
Mhm.
The state requires a 10-day public notice before you can have another public hearing on your final budget. That's a state law.
So we would still meet the timeline, there would be no need to ask for enabling legislation to extend our
The budget would
budgets
carry
either.
over, the expenditures carry over until the
Okay.
new budget's passed, so.
Because last time I think we made a change. We didn't make
Last year, we passed the budget on July 15th.
I was gonna say, yeah.
It was
so-
late.
It was a little late, but,
Last
because
time.
we had an advertising issue, we had a change issue, so.
Well, because of the schools and
Correct.
everything that was going on.
So,
Madam
if
Clerk.
everything falls into place, good, I know we did this too.
So if you plan to have the budget hearing on the 9th, you could have it earlier if you, on the 5th would be the earliest you could have it, based upon the advertising. So, because the 14-day advertisement requirement. So figuring the June 9th meeting is your public hearing, I'd have to advertise that on the 16th. It'll be published on the 18th/19th. 19th is a holiday. And 10 days after that, it's June 30th. So that's the town requirement is 14 days, and then there's an additional 10 days for municipal finance.
Once you finalize a budget ordinance, the state has to sign off on it, so.
Joan,
That's
we-
assuming the state will sign off on it pretty quickly. I think we'll talk to Dave today. Our goal is if you pass this tonight, we'll give them a heads up and say, this is pretty much what it's gonna look like, we think. If it changes, we'll send you another one, but we want to at least have them approve the format and the general calculations.
Joan, did you say May 19th is a holiday?
Yeah, that's right.
June 19th.
19th.
Juneteenth.
Juneteenth.
New holiday.
Forgot about that.
It's a Thursday.
So if everything falls into place and, well, and the other thing that, just so you're aware of, it's, the advertising requirement is in the charter and in state law. The reason why it takes so long, however, is because you have weekly newspapers, right? So if we were to advertise in the Journal, we wouldn't have to wait, but you only have a paper that comes out once a week. So if you wanted it earlier, we could advertise in the Journal, but it's more expensive.
Does it have to be a Rhode Island-based paper?
Yes,
What about the Newport Daily?
Yeah.
same weekly, it's weekly. Is it, oh no,
No,
the advertising deadlines are the same.
The advertising deadlines are the same. So I don't gain any days.
Okay.
They all are scooped up in the same company, so it gets pretty tough.
That's too bad we can't do like the Fall River Herald.
You can't do the Five Hour.
I don't believe we can.
We used to advertise stuff, we used to have stuff.
We used to advertise a lot.
Yeah.
So if
Okay.
you wanted to shrink those days, we could go to the Journal, but you'll pay
It's
for
gonna
it.
cost
How
a lot
much?
of money.
I don't know, we don't know that. That was a good question, came up today too. More expensive than,
More expensive than anything.
that could probably shrink the 10-day requirement,
Yep.
once the state signs off it. For the 14 days requirement for this, you might as well just stick with it, you got plenty of time.
So I guess my question then to you is that if essentially if we do this on the 9th, we make alterations, we can get together again on the 30th, pass the final budget, we're done.
Assuming the state approves the,
Assuming the state approves the language that we come up with in the numbers, which if they approve this and we make alterations, as long as we don't screw up the math, we'll be fine.
they're still gonna wanna sign off on the final budget, right?
Yep.
They did it quickly last time though, because we had.
I don't remember, but I know it was,
Yes,
yeah.
they did it.
I mean, the other one, yeah.
And what I'm hearing is we do not need, like, if we're gonna run past 7-1, we don't need legislation to continue the budget. Okay.
Because you have a budget, you just, that's not passed yet.
Okay. All right, that works. I'm fine with that. So, I mean, at this point, I think we've kind of nickel and dime this thing down pretty good. And sure, we could probably shave another $5,000 here,
Yeah, the only other.
$500
question-
there.
9,000 on the field rehab?
Want to do that? I know you want to do that.
I think if, to me, it just seems like we're doing it twice. Little League, and they're paying for it, and my understanding is, if it comes from Public Works, they send a bill to charge. Is that correct?
From experience, but it shouldn't be that way.
Maybe, I don't know, Rick could answer that?
Not sure I understand your question.
So on the field rehab stuff, if we send material to the Little League or the infield, the ball fields, we charge them for that material that we send there, correct?
No, that's not correct. If we do field rehab, we pay the contractor, subcontractor, DPW, out of that line item.
So there's no reimbursement that comes back from the Little Leagues?
Unless it's a shared project decided ahead of time, there's no shared expenses.
Okay.
DPW simply pays the contractor or the subcontractor and pays for the material.
Okay.
Who just paid for the town farm renovations?
Baseball.
The baseball, Little League did,
They paid for all the supplies and everything, right?
yes.
But that's only one field,
I was just
correct?
gonna say,
Right.
keep in mind, that's only one
You're
field.
right, right. That's up to you guys. I just,
Bless you.
I mean, if we really wanted to pull any more money again, the only other place to really get a good chunk would be coming out of the ARC, and I don't think we should do that. The ARC for the police pension?
oh, yeah, no.
No, I don't want to do that. The only thing I'm wondering is, do you want to take more money from the general fund? To bring it down a little lower?
Personally, I do not. I think we're sitting, I think the 3% minimum that we're required to have by the charter is far too low, and I think,
I agree.
this, even with what we pulled, we're still hovering around, what, 4.5%, 5%? That's,
Five.
all right, so 5%, that's what, essentially 5.5 weeks of operations? And, you know, we really should be sitting around 17%. So I'm hopeful the Charter Review Commission will come back with a recommendation to systematically increase that minimum floor.
Denise, do you think there'll be more money added to the general fund than what you're predicting? Are you being cautious? Okay. But you think that's the way, it's gonna be right around that? Some.
I know. Denise, can you come? Sorry. Public meeting.
So the 25 budget, you used 1.5 million. It's easier, or we have a better handle on projecting revenue through the end of June, because there's certain things that we know we're gonna collect. The other things, building permits, inspection fees, all of those little pieces that come in throughout the year, it's so hard to tell. And there's not a lot of real estate activity, so, you know, what's going on in the clerk's office, recording fees, stamp tax, those are all down from previous years. I mean, we had a huge spike during COVID because, you know, refinancing and everything was going on, but that's completely slowed down.
It'll
So I
probably
can tell
pick up
you that
soon.
we are gonna be short in revenue.
All right,
Can I ask you?
So if you spend every dollar that we have budgeted, right, and we're short in revenue, we're gonna have to take from the general fund.
Yeah.
So it's really gonna depend on what happens between now and the end of the year. So
Right.
we're trying to project salaries and the things that I know that I can project, but, you know, there's a lot of things that I don't know what's gonna happen.
all right.
I have a follow-up question on that, because you had mentioned last night that we already know we're down 775.
That's what I'm projecting.
Okay, is that purely revenue related, or is that because we've been?
That's revenue related, because
Okay.
I can look at the revenue and I can say, I know what I've got today. Tax collector's got a pretty good handle based on historical numbers, based on what we think we're gonna collect between now and June 30th. And then, you know, the pilot agreements that we have, the tower, land rental, all of those pieces that are contractual, school aid, that kind of stuff, the state aid, meals and beverages. We don't know exactly what the number's gonna be, but we have an idea, because it's not always what the state tells us.
So we're gonna be short $775,000.
In revenue.
In revenue.
Yes. And that's a first in many years.
That is,
Yeah, that's why I remember.
is there
Well,
any
that's
one
why-
specific area where that's coming from?
No, it's, you know, John, I go through the whole thing. It's just pieces that I can't confirm. And I don't want to guess, because I don't want to give you bad information.
Yeah, nope, just asking.
I don't think we should be pulling more out
No,
of the
I
general
was just
fund.
asking.
Yeah, I think we need that little buffer.
The biggest piece of the puzzle at this point is what you put in your contingency last year. It doesn't look like you're going to need anywhere near what you
Yeah.
budgeted.
Yeah.
No,
So
all those
that's
contracts are
gonna-
all done.
That will cover the shortage in revenue.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that balances out. But what we spend between now and the end of the year,
And by taking out what we took out, you said we're between 4.5 and 5%?
around there, yeah. And don't forget the 3% for next year. Of course, the size of this budget, the 3% marker keeps growing.
Yeah, and it's gonna
Yeah.
move up to like 1.8,
Yeah,
roughly
I
1.9.
understand. Yeah.
So our 4% this year could be 3% next
3%.
year.
Well, we always put a little something in there.
Yeah. I mean, we're reserving for paving, we're reserving
Yeah.
for municipal capital. So we're still reserving funds.
So it's a good thing.
So it's a good thing. So, you know, it's a balancing act, because if you weren't doing that, that would all be going into the general fund. And then you'd be rating that, you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah,
So
yeah.
you kind of have to look at the whole picture and remember that, you know, you got over $1 million reserved for
Yeah.
things that we need to do.
Is that including the casino?
No, this
That's
is
not
just,
even- That's not
yeah.
even the casino, so
No,
we have,
no, so you've got
Yeah, we have-
casino,
yeah,
yes.
okay.
This is just general
This is
fund.
just general.
Yep.
Reserve.
All right, well, if that's the case, and we're happy there with kind of where we're at, do we want to alter the numbers based off of one $20,000 reduction?
We don't have to do that if you
You
don't.
don't want to?
Well, if it's not changing the tax rate.
It doesn't touch the tax rate at all.
You can always decide not to spend.
Yeah, but we can always talk about it after the hearing. And if we find like another 80, then that'll help to get 100. Not that we
Yeah,
will,
again,
but,
just because you budgeted doesn't mean you spend
Right.
it, right? So we
no,
didn't try.
but it goes into the general fund.
Ultimately, we're just rolling it forward to next
Yeah.
year, or the following year, I should say.
Yeah, that's what we're doing.
Okay.
It don't bother with just that.
Any other discussions related to revenue projections? No? Okay. Well, with that, then since what we've decided to do, based on consensus here, is to leave the numbers unchanged on the sheet in front of you, I'm looking for a motion to adopt the preliminary budget ordinance for fiscal year 2026 as presented to you this evening.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion?
I would like to discuss.
Counselor Perry?
I'm going to be voting in favor of this tonight, with some regrets. I appreciate what this council has done. You've worked very hard last night, looking for every nickel, penny, dollar, going through the budget, and I think you've done a fantastic job. I only wish that we could see that on the school side. I've never seen a school committee with a budget in front of them like we have, going through every single line item and making cuts like you people have done last night. Yet, we were promised last year, and I wasn't on the council, some of you people were, they came before you and they said, look, if you give us this money, we'll keep the school open. You people dug and came up with the money to keep that school open. And what happened?
I agree.
The school was closed. They displaced all these kids and are gonna be putting them in the middle school, which they should not be. That happened in Portsmouth and it only lasted a year because it does not work. They're running a deficit this year of $750,000, and it's gonna climb higher, and we all know that. And where are they gonna come? Back to us for more money. We're giving them $990,000 more than they received last year with the closing of a school. And that's without capital. So they're gonna be coming for us for capital money also. And yet you people are okay with giving them a 3.50% increase. I am not. And I am frustrated with that you people can't see that. And here we are, keep taking money from our general fund and depleting it to take care of the schools. Why? Why? We have to look at our taxpayers also. That's all I have to say.
Counselor deMedeiros?
Dave, I agree with you, and let me tell you, me, John, and David were basically looking for pennies under the cushion last year.
Yes, you were.
And my only, I don't like the 3.4 either, you know that, and I don't like giving them 3.5. But the only reason why I even will do it is because the new superintendent's gonna come on board. Brendan is there, which I feel is very responsible. I had a little bit of a sleepless night thinking about it last night because we did tell them, we're going to do this, but we want your deficit to look better. And what did it do? It increased. I think, and Mike would yell at me if he was here, I think the major person that caused all this is leaving. And I'm hoping, no, really, and I'm hoping that the new person will come in and look at it and do a better job. But I'm gonna tell you, next year, I will not give them what I'm giving them this year.
Denise.
I feel bad for the students. That's who we're punishing, Dave. We're not and the teachers we're punishing. We're not punishing Dr. Sanquioni or the school committee. We're punishing the kids. If we give them any lower, they're gonna have bigger numbers in their classroom. They're gonna have less supplies.
Denise, we don't know that for sure, because we've been lied to for all these years. And I can't blame I won't call him Dr. Sanquioni, Peter. Because the school committee has gone along with him for everything that he
Yes,
wanted.
I agree.
So we can't just blame Peter. And guess what? We've got the same school committee that we had. So who's to say, and this new superintendent is gonna be picked by who? The school committee again. And she's hand-selecting, the school committee is hand-selecting the new superintendent. So who's to say that they're not gonna do the same thing with the new superintendent that they did with Peter? Who's to say that? We don't know, and yet we're throwing money at them again.
There was an election, Dave, and the people in this town knew what was going on, and it didn't change the atmosphere there. And that bothered me also. But, no, I was almost thinking of not voting for this, and I suggested it last night. Because I really think that what they did was irresponsible to the taxpayers. I think it's awful. And you're right, I don't know if it's gonna get better.
Did you
But
see the smiles on their face when we gave them the 3.5 last night? They came up here and they were smiling. Smiling, big smiles.
So, Dave, I don't disagree with you, with your statement. The one thing I did wish that could take place is exactly what you're saying. The school committee sit there and go budget line by line by line by line, so we have a better understanding, right? Because right now, I have no idea what they're gonna be spending their money on. I don't think it's fair for us to make that type of decision on a budget where we don't know exactly what they're spending. We sit up here, we pick apart the municipal side of the budget, and these budgets, and this has been happening year after year after year on the municipal side, they've gotten taken down as low as they can, as low as they can. I think with the contractual stuff that has taken place in the last, I'm gonna say the last year, I think the difference that we can see is we finally have stability back in the fire department, where we're attracting employees again, right? We're attracting people back to this town. I think we've lost a little bit of that in the school side. As you can tell, we have people leaving the program, our enrollment is down. But at the same token, they are gonna come look for more money from us, right? So they're gonna come look for more capital stuff. And I feel as though the people that we are hurting the most are our valuable teachers and our students, right? I get it. I wish we had more control of how we can control that funding, and be honest with you, and I hate saying this, right? Because it's the whole, I got phone calls, but I did receive, and it's only gonna be 2 phone calls on teachers that were expecting like a 2-point-something% increase, not the 3.5 that we gave, right? I'm hoping, you know, when this goes out and it comes back, that we're gonna have to make some more changes, and maybe we'll lower that a little bit. I'm hoping, and you know, with what happens with the people in the town, and I hope they see this, and, but it's a hard balance, and I think right now, we're doing what's right for the teachers, what's right for the students, and I think we're at a 50-50 balance right now, and that's just my opinion.
Have you
But
seen,
I
have you
agree
seen
with
the
you.
new teacher's contract?
I have not, Dave.
I'll send it to you. We're not hurting the teachers.
Well, layoffs are kind of tough to deal with.
Absolutely. And I
Right,
don't want to
so-
see any teacher get laid
Yes.
off. Any teacher get laid off.
But
But
I
I'll
would
send
rather.
you- I'll send you the new contract.
I think we need to work on changing the system once again, and they need to, like, we sit here in front of the public and do a line by line. They know where our numbers are getting cut and what we're cutting. And I think that really needs, for transparency, which was the motto of everybody running for school committee and town council, I still don't believe we're getting transparency from the school committee. It's just my opinion, and it should be a line-by-line item, so we know exactly what's being spent. Even to the fact that these repairs that come out of the blue, and I'll talk about the school chimney. A $30,000 increase on knocking down the school chimney, and we're bailing them out again to fix that problem, and having our short-staffed highway department going there cleaning up all the bricks it's just not. It's nice that we're working together and we're really helping out, and I think the administrator's really bringing our side over there to help out. But helping out is helping, and we can't drain our side of the system while we got work to get done too. So it has to be a balance. And
But the thing is, Greg, every time they come to us, they say they're gonna save money. They brought in
I agree with
the
you.
special ed from Portsmouth into Tiverton. That was gonna save us money. It didn't save us money, it's costing us money. They were gonna close a school, that was gonna save us money. It didn't save us money.
I mean, I asked Brandon last night, I said, with all these figures and all these numbers, what are we actually saving by closing Fort Barton? He had said to me around $1 million. I don't know where I see that, but
Where?
I just asked the question, and I think, John, you had said we went from 37 down
Yeah,
to
if you-
35 million, right?
Yeah, and I don't have the exact figure in front of me,
Exactly,
but the
so-
problem is that we allocated them like $34.5 million last year. That was supposed to keep Fort Barton open. Somewhere along the way, the school committee or the school department decided they were gonna go spend $37.5 million. So the savings is not off of what were being presented from last year's budget to this year's budget. The savings is off of the fact that they blew their budget out tremendously, and we still don't know what that deficit number is gonna be. We are going to have to address that once they close out the fiscal year and figure out how we're gonna handle that piece. And the only other piece, and I do see your hand up, Counselor Janick, so I'll make sure I'm quick. I completely agree with Counselor Perry. I mean, you know exactly how angry I was when that came out, that they had a budget deficit. But I think the opportunity for us to steer the ship in a different direction comes as soon as we get through this budget process and we sit down and actually figure out and help the school committee understand what future state of education in this town is gonna look like, because where it, for me on the outside looking in, what it looks like we've ended up with is a knee-jerk reaction, send fourth grade to the middle school, close down one of our newest elementary schools and send kids into one of our oldest, most decrepit buildings. And to me, that is not a strategic plan for success in the future. And at least the school committee has agreed to come to the table and hash that out with us, because we should be part of that conversation, because that is the largest check that the taxpayers in this town write out of a budget that we oversee. Counselor Janick.
I don't disagree with anything that anyone said, but I'll do the kumbaya moment. We're gonna have a new beginning in September. Like, we need to take care of our kids. We need to take care of the teachers who take care of our kids. And we need to get a new superintendent. So I think we need to look good. And we need to kind of stabilize this so that the new superintendent can come in and start off on a level playing field and work with Brendan, because I agree that Brendan was a great asset, a great add to the schools. He was playing with a lot of issues at the beginning too, and he's trying to get themselves dug out. So I think that in good faith, if we can try to level the playing field a little bit, it'll make it easier for the new school year. It's about the kids and it's about the teachers.
Counselor Committo.
Yeah, and Dave, I think at this point, whether it's 4%, 3.5%, 3.35, we're talking peanuts on the, I know it's about sending the message across the
Yeah,
bow.
but not in a limited income, not the elderly that is sitting there. That's not peanuts to them.
No,
That's not peanuts to these people.
I'm talking between the 3.5 and the 4%, it's $35 is what it comes out to on the average of a 500,000. I understand it's not.
Per thousand.
Per thousand, yes. So I unless we can cut hundreds of thousands of dollars from the school, we're gonna be right around the same thing no matter what we do. So I know it's about sending a message. Maybe we can find other ways to send the message that we're done. I'm just thinking of talking out loud to.
Counselor Committo, I would also add that, in my opinion, and hopefully this message rings true, this is not the town council in any way, shape, or form caving. This is a stay of execution for 1 year. And I've said it to a number of people, but if we're in the same position next year, where enrollments are still continuing to precipitously decline and costs are still continuing to precipitously rise, and test scores don't move in the right direction, you know, at that point in time, I am prepared to put the executioner's hood on.
But John, we told them that last year, remember?
I don't think we sent exactly that message.
No, but it was almost that message.
Almost, but I'm saying it now, and I'm saying it publicly. So if the trend line doesn't improve, and again, stay of execution, get the house in order. I think they have the right guy on the finance side. Hopefully, they pick the right person to sit in the superintendent's chair. And if there is market progress, great. And we can come together and we can find a solution that's gonna work long-term for the town of Tiverton in an environment where we had 2,000 kids when I was in school, and we have 1,500 kids now. And I don't know what the enrollment numbers look like, but, you know, I'm not hearing they're spectacular. So if we get to that point, there is no other choice in the next budget cycle but for us to look to the state to not just level fund, but to cut the maintenance of effort number down based on the population decline. And had we looked at that this year, it would have been a significant number. It wouldn't have been us looking at, let's get them 35 million. It would have been us looking at taking $2.25 million off the top of what we gave them last year, and that's the starting position.
Yeah.
And now with a larger budget, and based on the way they average out the students, it's probably a more significant number next year.
So, just speaking on that note, that like creates a whole not really another problem, but it's something that should change, is how we run our elections, right? So you talk about what the council did last year, right? So this is why maybe there should be a rotation on the council, so we have whatever from, last year to this year, like, I can't make decisions on what the council did last year, is what I'm saying, right? So maybe that kind of creates a problem, like if we change our terms, right?
Five of us were here though, last year.
I can't make my decisions on promises, that's all I'm saying, so.
All right, any further discussion? All right, so we have a motion on the floor to adopt the preliminary budget ordinance as presented to us for FY '26. And we have a second.
And set the hearing date for June 9th.
And set the hearing date for June 9th is the amendment to the motion?
Yes.
Yeah, it's our regular scheduled meeting,
Yes.
so. All right, so it'll be here, yes. We have a regular meeting, that's why. So hearing no further discussion, all in favor? None opposed. Final item, I'd like to entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Do I have a second? Second. Okay, motion been made and seconded, all in favor? We are now adjourned.